I was definitely restless as I came here to HDS in '95, and that restlessness was I think, the driving impulse of coming here. And I often think of coming here as one of the smartest things I've ever done, for reasons that, for much different reasons than I thought I was coming here for. I was already a young lawyer when I came here, and doing corporate work, finding that to be a very rough and tumble world. I was also, during this phase of my life, I was also raised Catholic. I'd gone to a Jesuit college. I'd discovered the sort of contemplative strain within Christianity, and I'd also discovered certain intersections between that and Zen Buddhism. I was also studying Kyudo, Zen archery at the time. And so my struggle as I conceived it at that moment, the restlessness I was feeling was a lot about just how do I integrate this sort of, whatever drew me to this rough and tumble, corporate law world as I was then experiencing it, and this other dimension. And it felt like this kind of apples and oranges situation. And I had an apple with which I felt I was had become discontented, and I came here to find an orange. And I thought that orange was going to be becoming a scholar in the area of contemplative spiritual practices viewed comparatively. And I had a real crisis my first semester here. It was probably just a couple months into my first semester, when I discovered really that while I wanted to be a sort of thoughtful, reflective practitioner of meditation, a practice I'd begun then, I really did not want to be a scholar in this area. And so what was I doing here? I mean, I had given up, a sort of budding law practice. I turned down an offer of partnership in a good firm, and here I was. And about this time, the New York Times broke a story about the massacre in Srebrenica towards the end of the war in the former Yugoslavia. And about 8,000 Bosnian Muslims were massacred by Serbs who had overrun a supposed UN safe area. And in this article, there was a picture of a Muslim woman who had hanged herself to avoid being killed. And this picture moved me to tears. And I realized, that religion was was intertwined with this conflict in so many conflicts in ways I hadn't thought about deeply before. I had in law school taken courses in mediation and alternatives to litigation. I'd begun to work a bit as a mediator before I came here, and it instantly occurred to me that what I needed to be doing here was exploring this intersection of religion and conflict, and its contributions to conflict, its potential for to be a constructive force in conflict situations. And Harvard turned out to be the perfect place to do that. I hadn't the foggiest idea that it could be, but the university has incredible resources in this area. A little disjointed. I had to, I and a few other people who shared this interest had to, kind of tease it out and make connections that weren't sort of prepackaged for us, but it was really fertile ground for this. And so rather than go on for a PhD in the area that I thought I would try to get a PhD in, I ended up focusing my MTS studies on this, and as I was finishing my MTS, I got invited to teach in this area at Harvard Law School. where I taught and did research in this area and did further graduate work and started to get deeply involved in international conflict resolution work. And this is going on almost 20 years ago. 3 years later or so, after leaving the Divinity School, I had another apples and oranges moment where, out of the blue, I got invited to join, at a very early stage, an interesting tech company. So suddenly this world I'd been in, as its general counsel, so this world I'd been in before started tugging at me again, and I had this other crisis moment, again, apples and oranges. It was starting to occur to me then that it might be possible to make a fruit salad. But I figured I'd have to kind of do it in serial. I'd, get the apple, get the orange, and then somehow they'd all kind of end up together. And I felt like I was leaving this world of conflict resolution that I cared about so deeply for a while, thinking privately, that I'm going to return to this someday. And I joined before the company came out of stealth mode, before there was anybody knew what we were doing. And what we were doing was creating a very secure online collaboration environment, one of the first of its kind. And shortly after we launched, this South African named Hannes Siebert, who'd been very involved in the peace process in his home country, walked into our office and said, hey, I'm wondering if you can help me. I have a few feature requests. You're not going to understand my world, but I'm dealing with this really difficult collaboration problem. I've just been invited to be the new neutral facilitator in the peace process in Sri Lanka, which was at an impasse before I received this invitation, and the parties still won't meet together face to face, but I've got them talking again using your software. And I almost fell out of my chair and said, well, I do understand something about your world, and yeah, we can help. And Hannes had just a few months earlier gotten together with these 5 Nobel Peace Laureates to start the Peace Appeal Foundation, and that sort of began my involvement with that organization about 13 years ago. So the restlessness was part of what brought me here. And I think, kind of honoring that restlessness and sticking with it and not turning from the restless moments that followed is a lot of, what's helped me find my fruit salad.